Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Bowl Show on BVTV. I'm Jimmy Whitehead, Events and Competitions Manager at Bowls Victoria, and I'm joined by Josh Thornton. How are you, Josh?
Good, Jimmy. Yeah, another great week. Obviously, Metropolitan about to start this weekend, so great weekend of bowls for all of bowlers in Victoria.
How'd you go last week?
Yeah, we had a nice win. We played the team that's rolled us in the last two grand finals. We tend to beat them during the season, and we did it again. Won by about 20 shots overall, so it wasn't a bad start to the season. But as you know, you don't win grand finals in October or November; you win them in March. So that'll be our plan going forward.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. We've got a bit of an action-packed show. We've got some exciting things coming up. We're going to announce the winner first up of our naming competition for the show, Josh, followed by a bit more in-depth info on our stream game of the week, which is Altona versus MCC. And then we're going to get our tipping competition kicked off in the end of the first segment before we bring in Kevy Anderson from Moama Bowling Club to talk all things Bendigo, Campaspe Goldfields and Moama Bowling Club itself. So what do you say we get straight into it, mate?
That's far away, Jimmy.
All right. So we, for the people who've been following the show last week and also the previews the week before, we haven't had a name for the show, Josh. We've been looking for one. We've been racking our brains in-house here at Bowls Vic, and I just don't think we're creative enough to nail a name down. So we opened it up to our viewers, and we have a winner. We've gone through a long list. There was probably about 200 entries, I think, all in all, JT. So a couple of close ones. The 22nd end by Peter Susovic from Mornington Peninsula. That came pretty close. The bowl down from Susan McMurrich. That also was a close runner-up. And I think a mate of yours, Dave, you can pronounce his surname.
Aldericio, Choco as we call him. He went with the ditch to ditch. I'm kind of glad we didn't go with it because we wouldn't be able to fit his head through the club if his nominee got through and won the event. So bad luck, Choco. Not this year for you, mate.
All right, so we can announce that the name of our new show will be Between Ends, and that was nominated by Chris Ball from the Deer Park Bowls Club. So Chris, we'll be in touch pretty shortly to get your prizes out to you and confirm some time. So well done. So the BVTV Bowl Show will be known as Between Ends. A good outcome, I think, Josh.
No, very happy with the name. It's thank you, Chris. Great creative mind in him, and it obviously helped us out here in BV coming up with a nice creative name. So well done, Chrissy Ball.
Yeah, so part of his prize, he'll be getting some coaching from a couple of the bigwigs from BCIB, Steve Glass and Karen Murphy, people like that. So just a shout out to BCIB, who are our Metro Pennant partner for this coming season. We thank you for their support. And if your club has any insurance needs, bowling club specialists are at BCIB, so please get in touch with them. Josh, our streamed game of the round, mate, is Altona versus MCC. So let's have a bit more of an in-depth look at how that game's going to unfold. We got the two side managers to get together yesterday and conduct the draw, so we're able to have a look at who's playing who. Before we bring that draw up, do you want to break the announcement of a couple of incomers to the Altona team that have only happened in the last few days?
Yeah, so obviously, which maybe impacts how we decide who's going to win this game, Jimmy, in our tipping competition. Altona's gone and changed a couple of their marquee players. They originally had Barry Lester and Nick Cahill as their two marquee players, but the Queensland border restrictions are limiting what they can do in that space at the moment. So the Altona boys went to the well and they've come up with some handy replacements. Dave Ferguson, current New South Wales skipper, plays at Engadine up there in Sydney, is one of their marquee players. And joining Dave Ferguson for Altona is Australian Jackaroo, Benny Twist, who's also another New South Wales state player, so at St John's Park. So two handy additions there, Jimmy, which I think might impact the way I might go about selecting the winner of this match. I think it's going to be a very close match.
Agreed. We'll bring the rinks up to go through shortly. I think players of their calibre coming into the competition just shows how strong it is this year. Not just Premier League Division 1. We've had some marquees coming in through there. I'm not going to break them announcements because I haven't had the paperwork through yet. It hasn't come through the fax machine. But there's some Division 1 clubs that are bringing in some exceptionally well-known players. So I think the competition in Victoria is as good as it has been this year, and especially in Metropolitan. So it's a pretty good look. for the comp, mate. So the draw was conducted yesterday by the two side managers, Dane McKinnon and Russell Green, and we can announce the streaming rink that we'll be covering on Saturday, as well as the remainder of the draw. So, do you want to kick off with a stream rink, Josh?
Yeah, so the streaming rink's going to be the Ben Twist skipped rink versus Scotty Mortimer. It's a who's who of bowlers in Melbourne throughout the rest of the state and even the country, you know. So you look at Benny Twist rink, he's got Benny Lachlan, who's a state player, has had skipping times at Altona in the past. So, you know, Jaden Womble, who's a new pickup for them guys, A. Tucker. And they're coming up against what I would say are a pretty formidable MCC rink there, you know. Tommy Ristic playing lead. Tris Doolan, you know, current female state bowler, she's playing second. Russell Green, who we touched on in the preview show last week, who's played for Australia back in the day and been an Australian squad member, and Scotty Mortimer, who's joined them this year, you know, so in a leadership role. So that's a cracking match, and I can't wait to have a look at that match on the live stream. And Jimmy, it should be great to watch. We've also got you know Nathan Wilson drawing against J. By Norris, with a couple new inclusions for MC there and Maxie Goldsmith and Brett Layton joining that rink. So that should be a cracking lineup. And then the other rinks are really well poised and could either make or break the overall game. You've got Dave Ferguson coming up against Brad Marin and Dane McKinnon coming up against Brendan Gallagher.
Yeah, for sure. Look, that Brendan Gallagher rink, I mentioned briefly last week on the show that the three players in front of him, Simon, Scotty and Mick, they were sensational last year. I think they were joint best perform rink in the comp. So Dane's going to have his hands full against them. I think it's a very strong rink for MCC. I like the fact that they've left it alone. They've made no changes to that rink. It's the only one that's the same as the previous year. And hats off to them for recognising and rewarding them for their performances last year. So look, I think it's a pretty hard game to tip. I think the back end of Altona's, the four skips are four of the best bowlers in the country, let alone playing in this comp. But that's matched by MCC's back end as well. I think they've got some phenomenal players there. Obviously, a couple of state players, Victorian state players, emerging Jackaroos as well. So hard to call. But we're going to have to call it, Josh, because we've got a tipping competition. So who are you going for?
So I think in a close match, and what swayed me is probably the two inclusions of the marquee players of Twist and Ferguson. And I'm going to go Altona by 5 shots, 14-4, Jimmy.
Fair effort. Well, I've got to be there on the weekend, so I better be careful who I upset and who I big up in this. But I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to back MCC. I think they'll get it done. I like the balance of their side. Yes, they've got some big changes from last season in terms of personnel, but I think they'll get it right straight away. I know they've been practicing hard. I know they played 2 practice games on, I think, Saturday last week. I think they'll hit the ground running on this one. I don't think it will be by much. I think they'll probably split the rinks, like you said, 14-4, but I think they'll get the win overall, mate. So, yeah, there's our first tip going against each other, which is great. So, carrying on with the other games, Bundoora versus Mentone. How do you see that one going?
Yeah, look, it doesn't look like at this stage many of the Mentone marquee players are coming in this week, looking at their sides that are on Bowlslink. And with Bundoora RSL having both Corey Wedlock and Gary Kelly, you know, joining them week 1, I have to give the nod to Bundoora RSL.
Yeah, I'm going to follow you on that one. I think Bundy at home, their greens are sensational. I think they'll get their job done against Mentone. I think Mentone will be very plucky this year. I think they'll run teams close. They won't give up. But yeah, I think Bundoora will get this one done. Lilydale versus Yarraville Footscray. Where's your tip going on that one?
Yeah, I made mention in the previous show that Lilydale probably needs to win their home games to fight for that final spot. So I'm going to give them the edge over Yarraville Footscray at home in this first game. It'll be close. Nothing splitting it, but I'm giving the edge to Lilydale.
Yep, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I think Yarraville, they had a good win in a practice game against Altona that last week. Obviously, probably flyings weren't coming down for Altona. I think they'll be okay this season. I think they'll find a way to win games, especially at home. But I see Lilydale charging out the blocks on this one. Like we spoke about last week, the recruitment's been good. And yeah, I think they'll get the win in this one. I'll try not to be too biased in my tip in the next game, but Melbourne versus Clayton, what's your thoughts?
Again, I think this could be a very cracking match. I like the look of Clayton's side. They've got Natasha Van Eldik, their marquee player, playing third to Toddy Simmons. Melbourne side looks, well, I haven't seen it, but knowing who they've picked up and what they're able to produce in terms of winning the state pennant last year, they're one of the teams to beat. Being it's at Melbourne's home ground, I'm going to give Melbourne the edge and win that game.
Yeah, I've got to go down to the club tonight, mate. So I'm not going to tip against us. But I think we'll win. I think we'll win relatively comfortably. We beat Clayton twice last year. We play against them a lot, night pennant games, that sort of stuff. It's always a good rivalry. So both teams will lift. But I just got a feeling that the boys from Melbourne will be coming out the blocks a lot quicker than most this season. There's definitely a fire in the belly that I can see with a few of the players, and I think Melbourne will pick the W up over Clayton on that one. And then our Sunday game this week, been played on Sunday morning, so make sure you get down and have a watch, is Deer Park versus the new guys in Croydon. We spoke about last week, Deer Park's Inns. They've somehow figured a way to pick their 16 for this week and put them in a way that they think is going to be successful. Croydon, new to the comp, will be looking to start well. What do you reckon? I think they'll be well supported, Croydon. I think they'll get a lot of support down and travel over to Deer Park. But yeah, how do you see it going?
Look, no disrespect to the guys from Croydon, but I think they're going to face an uphill battle in this first game. I've seen the Deer Park sides. It's quite strong. It looks well balanced, in my opinion. And, they'll be checking their egos, as I said in the preview show last week. I reckon they've got it right where they'll all play for one another. And I think they're going to come out very comfortable winners in this first round.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Deer Park too. I think Croydon will win games this year. I think they'll be competitive, but the Deer Park side on paper is phenomenal. So yeah. So for us, mate, it's all going to rest on that Altona MCC game, which luckily we're streaming, and you're not on commentary, but I am, so you'll be copping plenty on there, mate. So make sure you tune in. It's 4 p.m. Saturday, Altona versus MCC. Just before we leave for segment 2, Josh, there's a few clubs I want to mention across metropolitan Melbourne who have done some great work in the off-season in getting ready for this year. I want to tip my hat to Port Melbourne, who are our current midweek state pennant champions. They'll be looking at backing that up. I know how excited they were to win that last year. They'll want to transfer that form into weekend pennant. I know it's been an aim of theirs for, I think, 10 years. When I spoke to the president, Craig Morris, a couple of weeks ago, he said, we've been trying to get out of Division 2 for 10 years. It's notoriously hard to get out of. They keep falling at the final hurdle. They brought a couple of players back in from Altona who played Premier League last year. So I think Port Melbourne are going to be red hot in Division 2. I think it's Section 9. So they'll be looking at pushing for Saturdays on weekend pennant and trying to back up what they can do in midweek. So hats off to them. Cheltenham Bowls Club as well. They've recruited exceptionally well over the off-season. Picked up a new coach in Danny Simmons. He's brought some people down from Carrum like Phil Kelly, who've got experience in Division 1. But their club as a whole has grown. They've added an extra 2 midweek pennant sides this year. They've added an extra Saturday weekend pennant this side this year. So well done to Cheltenham. They're a very well-organised club. Nick Owen, who I deal with a fair bit from there, is doing some really great things. They're embracing barefoot bowls. They're embracing twilight sort of games. 2 fantastic Tiff Green. So well done to them. Similar with Berwick Bowls Club. They've grown hugely this year. They're a big membership club anyway. They've got a new roof under construction, but they've added some sides in to their weekend and midweek, and a very good family feel-good vibe coming out of Berwick. So well done to them. And finally, Heathmont. I know they had a terrific season last year in Division 1 in the weekend pennant. Came up short against a rampant Croydon side in finals last year. So they got some big players. A good friend of ours, Darren Mays, Mark Alwood, Simon Jeffries as well. Lucas Pradapadas. So yeah, they'll be looking to go one better this year. I know Lucas is fired up about his midweek pennant as well. They're trying to push further. So hats off to them guys. Just wanted to give a shout out to a few clubs who are doing really well. Next segment, Josh, we're bringing in Big Kev from Moama. It'd be great to catch up with him. We'll have a bit of a look at the Bendigo Campaspe Goldfields region, and then talk all things Moama Bowls Club after that. We'll be back after the break.
Looking forward to it, Jimmy.
Awesome. Welcome back. We're into segment 2 of the BVTV Bowl Show. We're joined by Kev Anderson, the sports venue manager from Moama Bowls Club. Kev, how you doing, mate?
Good, Jimmy. How's yourself, mate?
Yeah, we're going all right here. We're just working our way through the show, Kev. We in the last segment, me and Josh have entered in a bit of a tipping competition, which is definitely going to lose for this season for the Premier League games. We also want to bring in our regional guest of the week, and we're going to total up the scores across the season for the regional guest. So I just want to get some quick tips off you, mate. I know you know a lot of the players who are competing in the Premier League down in Metro region this year. So I'll do a quick run through the games, and we'll get your prediction of who you think is going to win, and we'll put it on the tipping ladder. So Bandora versus Mentone, first up. How do you see that one going?
I've got Bandora to win 16-2 in that game, mate. 12 shots to diff.
Yeah, good effort. Lilydale versus Yarraville Footscray.
Lilydale to win 14-4, 7 shots to diff.
Yeah, right, close one there. The mighty Melbourne Demons against Clayton.
Are you having a game, mate? Are you playing?
Nah, mate, this week, mate. I'm on the commentary.
Commentary? That's better than the water boy, isn't it? You're doing well. That's a upgrade for you.
I did that water boy role quite well, Kev. I'll have you know.
Yeah, you were good at the state pennant finals last year. I'm going to go Clayton to win by 12. Ali Forsyth to run the show there.
Fair enough. I think you'd be wrong there, but our stream game, Altona versus MCC.
I just seen Altona picked up a couple of good signings during the week, Jim. Is it Twisty and Fergo?
Correct. Very correct.
That's pretty good. That's that changes the dynamic of their team, especially old Fergo is probably the best emerging jackaroo of all time, I'd say. I'm going to go Altona 16-2 by 18 shots.
That's a big call, that, Kev. MCC, a very good side this year. And our Sunday game is Deer Park versus Croydon.
Deer Park, they've had a couple of new players this year, it seems.
One or two.
I'm going to go Deer Park 18-0 by 255 shots.
I'm sure you're going to make a lot of friends at Croydon with that. All right,
no offence to anyone at Croydon. I just don't know anyone. Sorry. Deer Park 18-0 by 33 shots, we'll go with.
Fair effort. All right, mate. So we've got you on to represent the Bendigo, Campaspe Goldfields region. Now, I know you're sort of new to the region, but you've had a bit of a hand in some changes that have occurred up there recently. Do you want to just give us a quick run through of sort of your role in the changes that have occurred there, mate?
Yep. So I got roped into being on the match committee, and it's been pretty good. It's been really good for Moama. So we personally, Moama's Division 1 is playing in the new Bendigo Premier Division 1 League. So we're essentially playing against all the teams from Bendigo. So the last few years up here in Moama have sort of dominated the Campaspe area. And it's actually making Moama's life better and Campaspe's the sort of competitiveness of the region better. So our Division 2 side are essentially our Division 1 side now. And they've moved up to play that. That starts this weekend.
Well, that sounds good, Kev. So where's the growth in terms of the next few years for that competition? You've obviously got yourself in with the Bendigo clubs. Is there room for the Goldfields? Any teams from there moving over, or more growth from Campaspe area?
Yeah, hopefully we can get some more teams in it, mate. I think the idea for next year is we're going to have an overall Premier League for the whole region, rather than us just essentially joining Bendigo, which we've done this year. So if we can get that going next year, the winner of the Premier League just goes straight to the state pennant finals. And it cuts out the extra week or two you've got of having playoffs between the three regions.
Yeah, awesome.
Which,
and for midweek, is there any plans to bring it in for the midweek pennant?
Yeah, we're hoping for a midweek Premier League as well. That's it's very, very early chat about it, but hopefully we'll get there.
It's good. It's good to see the appetite. It's good to see the appetite there, Josh. Hey, for wanting to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it might become a bit of a trend throughout country Victoria down the track as competitions want to get stronger and stronger. Kevy, obviously, you made the big move from Broadbeach down to Moama. What was your first impression? You played Pennant on the weekend. You played last year's Bendigo's runners-up in Kangaroo Flat. Oh, you had a good win, 27 shots there. What was your first impression of the Pennant competition?
Yeah, it was pretty good, mate. The first thing that got me was the amount of media coverage over it. Through the radio were phoning me up during the week. The coverage was unbelievable. Papers, radios, it was unbelievable. And the best thing, the crowd at the weekend was sensational as well. you definitely got more at that Pennant game than what you get at Broadbeach. I know no one else was playing, that was probably a factor in such a big crowd, but everyone was really interested in it, especially in Moama. It was our first game down there. We had a great support down there. But yeah, it was good. It was a good game of bowls. The weather wasn't the best, but we got off to a flyer and were lucky enough to see it over the line.
Did you have any expectations for the upcoming season? I mean, obviously it's the first time Moama's actually going in and playing a full-blown season. As you said, usually Moama might win the Campaspe and then can play off against the Bendigo winner for a state pennant playoff match. But what were your expectations going into the season?
We didn't really have any, to be honest. The expectation was just for us to be better as a team by playing the better teams every week, rather than just having essentially a one-off cup final to get to the state pennants. So the idea of us moving there was to improve our club and improve our area. Really, it's worked out good, I think, so far. Everyone in the area seems reasonably happy with it. And yeah, that our goal. If we make finals, it's a bonus. If we happen to win it, happy days. But yeah, we're just taking one game at a time, mate. We're just happy to be in it, to be honest.
And on the local front, Kevy, obviously your midweek teams are still playing locally in Campaspe. How are they shaping up for the season?
Yeah, it's going to look pretty good, mate. So our Division 1 started last week. Moama were down at Rochester, I think, but there's a few really good teams in that as well. Echuca and Rich River, even Mithaura. We've got 6 teams in Division 1 this year. So yeah, it should be a good season.
And did I hear, Kev, you were looking at moving to fully open for the midweek pennant, or is that something that's going to happen sort of down the track?
It's going to be down the track, mate. Yeah, so we'll try and get to Christmas time. Then after Christmas, we'll start discussing these things with the match committee and the board and get organised for next year. This year we didn't have much time to get ready just for the boundary review, but we managed to. I think we're sort of lucky that the season got delayed for a month, so everything's sort of we're good to go now, and then we'll start looking at next year as early as we possibly can and get organised.
It's great. It's great to see the appetite for change and wanting to sort of move forward and bring in new initiatives. So it's a hats off for doing that. And I mean, for you personally, mate, you're lucky you get to play in some of the best greens in Victoria, Bendigo, Bendigo East, South Bendigo, some fantastic greens in Bendigo.
I was down at Bendigo East yesterday watching some of our over 60s, and it was hammering down the whole night, and the greens were perfect. Credit to Tonks there; he's done a great job. The greens were outstanding for the amount of rain they had on them.
Yeah, and looking forward to the weekend. Who are you guys up against on Saturday?
We've got Eagle Hawk at home, so we'll be playing them under the dome on Saturday. So they had a good result last week against South Bendigo Diggers, I think. They were the premiers last year in Eagle Hawk. Yeah, they beat them pretty convincingly this year, so we know we've got a tough game, but we're looking forward to it.
Kevy, do you dare to make a prediction on the other games for the round? Inglewood's playing Castlemaine.
I don't really know any of these teams, mate, to be honest. I've not had the chance to get in and watch them, but I'll have a crack. I don't mind a bet, so I'll go Inglewood by 7.
Right, South Bendigo's playing Golden Square.
I'll go South Bendigo to bounce back and win by 15 this week.
There's some very good players, South Bendigo.
Yeah. And Bendigo East is playing Kangaroo Flat.
I'm going to go... Where is that? Bendigo East?
Yes.
I'm going to go Bendigo East by 1.
Nice.
And a thriller.
Fair effort. Well, thanks for that, mate. Thanks for giving us a bit of a lowdown on what's happening in Bendigo, Campaspe Goldfields. It's an interesting time for sure. And it's great to see a region embrace the boundary changes that happened last year for regional Victoria. So congrats there. We'll be back in a second, and we'll have a bit more of a chat about Moama Bowls Club, the partnership with Bowls Victoria, and how the events are shaping up there for the next 12 months. Welcome back. We're still joined by Kev Anderson from Moama Bowls Club. Moama Bowls Club are our club of the week for this show, following on from Club Summary last week. Kev, we've locked in events with Moama this year. We've got the traditional state pennant finals, which have been there for a number of years, but we've also added the Region Sides event to Moama this year, which will co-host with Echuca Bowls Club. What's the feeling on that? Are you excited for hosting the additional events?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we love having events here at Moama. I think this year we've got 4 or 5 major events here, so we're really looking forward to it. We've got the region sides, the state pennant, as you say. We've got a BPL and a UBC at the end of the year, so it's going to be a really busy year for us here at Moama, but we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I know you've got Stu, who works quite close with you. So between the two, you've got some phenomenal bowls experience and how to run events. I mean, I know from a Bolsvik perspective, we're really excited about what we can do different at these events this year. I mean, we had state pennant with you last year, which me and you sort of co-run, and we had the dinners on a Saturday night and a Monday night. We've got some bigger plans for this year with them. We're talking about sort of open mic nights with special guests. You've obviously got some contacts from Queensland Way, and BCIB are our pennant partners. So there's obviously some people we can bring down there. I just think the facility you guys have got leans itself towards them sort of events and hosting them sort of nights.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to Stu, he's been absolutely brilliant since he came here. He's been a breath of fresh air at the club. He's really keen. He loves bowls, absolutely loves the game, and he's brilliant for our members. And yeah, he's good to work with as well. He's a good fella.
Yeah, awesome. I think one thing that I always notice coming up to Moama and Echuca for that matter as well is the engagement you have with the local community. Like I think I went up for a BPL a couple of years ago before we fell into COVID times, and I went to get breakfast the next morning, and the two baristas were talking about I think it was Mikey Walker's shot when he smashed the jack into the pit with his and you've got two baristas in a coffee shop who've probably got nothing to do with bowls. They'd watched it the night before and they were loving life. So it's great that the two clubs that sit either side of the border and Rich River in that as well engage the local community so well. So yeah, congrats on that. Kev, thanks for giving up your time, mate. I know you got a busy schedule and there's a lot to do at Moama, but we really appreciate you giving up that time. We also appreciate the support that Moama Bowls Club show, Bowls Victoria and the sport in general. Appreciate it, mate.
Cheers, Jim. Keep up the good work, guys, as well. It's good to see this. It's a good initiative, and yeah, well done.
Thanks, Kevy.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Cheers, Josh.
Don't forget that the show will be broadcast live on Fridays, every Friday on our Facebook page. Also follow us on our Instagram page as well. It will be uploaded to the website. So if you don't have Facebook, you can find it on the website from there. Otherwise, we'll be back next week. We've got a guest coming in from Gippsland, Jan Morton, next week, Josh. So we'll look forward to that. Otherwise, please try and keep dry. I really hope you get a game in this weekend. We've forecast a dump of rain in Victoria the next few days. So fingers crossed you all get a game of Pennant this week. See you next week. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.